Welcome back, coaches, to Troy Ward's Mailbag here at the pond at Deer Lake here in Wisconsin. We're here in my office, and we're getting ready for episode number 8 today already, as winter's passing us by really quick. Obviously, we're almost into March, so I hope that all of you coaches are doing well, and that I hope everybody is healthy and safe during this time. Before we get into the first question and our only question today in the show, I'd like to just go back to last week or episode number 7. Got a lot of feedback from a lot of you coaches around the world. I want to thank you on behalf of the coaches site for that. But we did cover 2 one-puck drills. We did a episode for sure on a 3-on-2 continuous. We explained that in detail a little bit. And then we did a 3-on-2, 5-on-5. And we said that, the 3-on-2, 5-on-5 was shown and done in 5 different ways. And a lot of you have asked questions since the show, and there's more ways to build on it to answer your questions, yes. And we can show those eventually in other shows, but certainly you can build on them in your own ways, coaches, whatever you feel is appropriate for your particular team and age. So just thanks so much for that. And remember that the goal we talked about last week with one puck drills is to simulate game situations, provide repetitions in tactics and systems. It allows your team to play as a team quicker, and it obviously helps conditioning. So thanks so much for that. And we'll get right back to question number 1. Okay, welcome, coaches. Here we're going to answer one question today. We got it from Larry H., who's a U16 coach in the U.S. His question was, Troy, I'm trying to figure out what kind of aggressive forechecking system I want to use for my U16 team. We have good skaters, so I would like to take advantage of our speed. What would you suggest, a 2-1-2 or a 1-2-2? Could you show the structure of both and how we execute the forecheck versus multiple breakouts? By the way, he said, my defensemen are also good skaters. So thanks so much, Larry, for the question. And now we'll get into answering it first and foremost. And again, today we're going to use Hockey Coach Vision, and we're going to utilize the tool that they've given us for the show to demonstrate both the 1-2-2 and the 2-1-2 forecheck, and how basically to shut down the other team's breakout. So, with no further ado, let's get into a 1-2-2 here right away, and we'll get into looking at this from a perspective where the puck is dumped in, and now it's all about the red team is forechecking the blue team, and we're going to get into a 1-2-2 structure. So when you look at your forecheck, coaches, it's a defensive system, number 1, because you don't have the puck. You're going to go pursue it. Number 2 is, if you're going to use your speed, Larry, and you're going to get in on the forecheck, you have to state your rules for F1 in a 1-2-2. So we look at the first red dot going in as number 1. He's forcing. The other team is going behind the net, but he's late. So this system I wanted to show right away is the fact that it's really kind of a 1-2-2 smart, we called it a lot of times in my experience, meaning we're going to stay above the blue wingers throughout this whole clip, and the center is going to track in and push that defenseman in the corner. But you can see number 3 right here is basically above number 8, and we're getting above number 6. So it's a 1-2-2 smart. It's more of a really good defensive forechecking system, where you limit the options with utilizing your speed, Larry, to get in. And then eventually, as you shrink that time and space, you're going to jam those blue guys into the wall and then step in and do that. So that's a 1-2-2 structure that's certainly available to you to look at. It's usually used when teams are in the lead late in the third period, or even at the end of the first or second period, where they want to be patient, maybe go in with the lead into the locker room. So that 1-2-2 smart system right there, where we stay above it and crowd everything, is very effective for you to look at using. I'll let it play out here in a 3D version, as we did last week with Hockey Coach Vision. Just our skaters getting in. We're a little bit late with F1, so we're going to give that guy just a push out, and then we start to jam it right there where we take the time and space away. Very effective. The second one is another 1-2-2 forecheck for Larry's question today with his U16 team. Again, keeping everything the same so we can follow along today. We look at the pressure of the first forechecker, number 2 in the red, getting in on number 10. Good energy, which Larry, you said in your question, you have good team speed. So we get in and we're very aggressive, number one. Now, when we get here with number two, there's what I like to say to a lot of teachers and coaches out there. There's three D's and three C's, excuse me, in defense. The first one is control. And you got to make sure your team or your players are in control defensively. So we're looking for this number two red to get in control of his body. Number two, the second C is making some type of contact, which we like to say is usually blade to blade, meaning you want to stop the pass, not allow 10 to get any further. And the third C is containment, meaning contain them. So those are the three C's of defense. So we have good energy to the puck. We're in control of our body. We go contact or we go body contact. They go D to D. This is called a 1-2-2 aggressive. So now on a D to D pass, we see the other forechecker coming down. He takes an inside outside path, or she does, and they're going to force up the wall. Now at this point, we've stopped it. We've got good pressure out of F1 that makes a D to D pass, good pressure here on the 1-2-2 aggressive. And now we've got the third forward coming across with the second forward reloading. What's critical on any forecheck you decide to use is that all three forwards get on one half of the ice for you coaches in your teaching. And we get over, and F1, we show in that picture, gets over and takes that time and space away. So again, really good energy out of F1, the three C's of defense. We go inside out. We come all the way across with the third forward. And now we're going to push out, and D have backed up. And you can see that we've allowed ourselves to skate the game really well. We forced passes, and most importantly, we've kept the puck to the outside. So that's a 1-2-2 aggressive. Okay, back to our third diagram in the 1-2-2. We just start with a little longer line rush, a chip in. We're still in a 1-2-2 structure. Larry, for your question today, meaning which system do you want to use? So now we're just going to assume that, as you've asked in the question, was can you show the other team's breakouts and how to shut it down? Well, we've showed good pressure, stopping that. Now we've showed a D to D. And now we're going to just show here where they go to a rim over to the D again. We get really good pressure in the 1-2-2 structure, and we take that out. And then now we pinch here with our D. So it's a 1-2-2 pinch on the weak side. And then we reload with our typical guy that came across in the last clip. He's going to get above the D and play that D spot. And you get over here and what we call, I like to call just KPI, which is keep the puck in. But most importantly here, this forward has to get over once he sees this D go down. If this D is late in your system, coaches, and you feel that he can't get there, then you can just say in your teaching that this F3 would load and come across, cut the ice in half, and maybe push out, and you keep your D inside the dots. In this particular case, they did rim it up there. The D felt he could help KPI the puck, keep it in, and we backed it up with the 1-2-2 posture in the third guy coming across. So we let this thing roll. It's a 1-2-2 structure. Boom, we push. We track both D. We come across, and now we come down on a weak side rim and pinch those in a 1-2-2 structure and get our third forward to pick up the puck. So very effective. Okay, Larry, for our last one here, it's a fourth version of a 1-2-2. Again, we'll start from the neutral zone. We'll see another dump puck to keep everything the same so we can follow along. Again, we've got number two coming in for pressure. We can see the opposition, which you asked for. What are their breakout schemes versus a 1-2-2 or a 2-1-2? We're in our last diagram of the 1-2-2. So you can see there we've got number three coming in here tracking, usually on a 1-2-2 aggressive. He's either going to go inside out or straight in on the D to D pass. He comes straight down in, forces them to the corner. That's then bumped up again, a different version. But now again, you can see when it gets to the weak side, we can allow this defenseman, number 5, to come down and pinch out on number 8 again. And at times, if he wants to do that, that's based on his read of F1. This forward right here, who's now coming back across, if he feels like even though he or she is not above the puck and isn't over there yet, but they feel they can make the play in a 1-2-2 aggressive, a lot of teaching would be to clean up the relationship between this defenseman and this forward coming across as to when they can go, when they should stay. We go in this situation here, the puck again pops out, and then we get back into it. So I wanted to show two different versions of that rim to the weak side. It's the most common, but how you sort that out, coaches, is really between your high player coming all the way across and your defenseman. And if, again, Larry said he had good skating defensemen, if you feel they can KPI, which means for me, keep the puck in or pinch down in that wing, then please give them the freedom to go. That's probably your best bet with a good skating team in a 1-2-2 structure. Okay, coaches, now we're going to get into the 2-1-2 system. And Larry's question was really like, what's the better system for me, the 1-2-2 or the 2-1-2? That's your choice, Larry, obviously, as a coach. Now we're going to look at the breakouts that the blue team would possess in a 2-1-2 forecheck for your team, which is a defensive system. So again, the puck is dumped in. We can see that we're basically getting good pressure out of F1 and F2 in this case. So we're getting in on them. They go kind of a D to D pass, but that's probably an option for the offensive team, meaning if it's hard enough, that blue defenseman right here is going to let it go to the wing. If it's direct and he's back and they can go direct, that's a choice for this person, either stop it and make a wing pass or go to the middle or let it go to the wing. In this case, they let it go to the wing. Sometimes to beat pressure, on the offensive side of things, is you want to trap F1 and F2. So, Larry, this is a good question. The answer for you, Larry, is do you believe that your F1 and F2 can get in there? And can they stir things up? The offensive side, the counterpunch to that is if you've got good team speed coming at this particular team, they're going to try and rim by and then just fight the war right out at the blue line. So by letting the puck go right to the blue line here, they're saying, let's not make mistakes down in this low part of the ice, Let's make a battle right at the blue line. And then you look at just chipping it out and going from there and live to play another day, so to speak. So they go to a rim, but you can see that number 3 in the 2-1-2 structure comes over for support and picks up the loose puck once that D is effective in its pinch and creates a loose puck or a 50-50 puck, if you will. And now we enter in the zone and we've created off a 2-on-2, good pressure on F1 and F2. The opposing team rims, and we're right there to block it. So again, a live speed, our 3D version by Hockey Coach Vision, is we go around here, we let that thing go, boom, there's the D. We come over with support out of our high guy, and we start our end zone offense. Okay, part 2 for Larry for your question today on the 2-1-2 forecheck is we're going to dump it in again. Again, we're looking at F1 and F2. Basically, 2 for coaches that are making decisions between a 1-2-2 and a 2-1-2. One of the things that's really nice when you say, okay, we're going to go a 2-1-2 because we have a good skating team, is typically as you mature in the game and you get older, F1 and F2 usually don't have any rules. The only rules they might have, or you might give them as a coach, is to track both defensemen, or just say if F1 makes contact, F2's got to be there. But typically, the players like playing this system because F1 and F2 have no rules. They have basically, there's 3 parts to a forecheck. You have front pressure, you have side pressure, and you have back pressure. So they're in their front pressure schemes right now. In this case here, the blue team wants to run a little reverse or a bump play down low. So you can see by tracking the 2 defensemen, to your question, Larry, how do we stop their breakout? F1 and F2 are on both D. Now we've brought down our third guy here is our F3. It's our high player in a 2-1-2 forecheck. So it gives you good pressure, but a good defensive posture. And boom, they pop it to the center who comes down for support. And now your center right here just pushes out on this center here. We stay in front of these 2 players here and try and fight and win this war and keep this player to the outside right here. Meanwhile, F1 and F2, you've got to reload back above and stay in front of those 2 blue defensemen down the ice. 3D version is this. Again, for Larry's question today, how do we stop the breakout schemes? They run a little bump and a reverse. I pause it. Now we push out from there. We have our D in front of the 2 blue wings. We have our center tracking the center, and both of our red forwards have reloaded above the 2 blue D. So I think, Larry, you get an effective look here at a 2-1-2 forechecking pressure when they run a little reverse. Okay, number 3 for us today in the 2-on-2 forechecking scheme is what happens if they utilize the center in their breakout. So again, you can see now we've got F2. We've got F2 here. We've got F3 pressuring these 2 defensemen. We've got our third player, who's our high player in the 2-on-2, tracking in. And boom, they come around. That player, because of that player's speed and maybe the angle of our first forechecker, allows this player to get the net. this happens. We've tracked this defenseman, as I've talked about earlier, where F1 and F2 track the 2D. So now 10 has to make a decision, or the blue defenseman behind the net. He gains the net, gets to the far post, and decides like he wants to play it up the middle. But we've shown how the center then can come down. So in a 2-on-2 forecheck, a lot of you coaches, your decision is going to be, if you go against a dynamic blue breakout team and you feel they have the skill to beat you and they can beat you up the middle, what do you do with your F3? Do you back him out and play defensive and allow them to play underneath and make this pass? Or do you collapse your F3 down in the middle? And in this case here, by proximity of our center checking their center, our F1 checking here, and we take away this. If they rim, we probably could pinch our D. If they go D to D, we take it away here. And if they try and go up the middle, we take it away there. So again, Larry, that's a look at the potential breakouts of the opponent and how you can systematically put your players in position to be effective. Okay, for our last version here in the 2-on-2 forecheck, now we're going to look at the players going in to set it up. Again, chipped in. We've kept it the same for all our coaches watching today's show. F1 and F2, tracking these two blue defensemen in the same end, just so you can follow along really easily. We get in again, F1 and F2 don't have many rules. Usually in a 2-on-2 forecheck, you can see that we're in a good defensive posture. We're ready to pressure both D. Our F3 is above their three forwards here, so we've got good sound structure. Now they reverse to the wall, which is common. The D decides not to pinch, and now we're going to push out with F3. A lot of times in old-time version of hockey, we call this a soft lock. And again, there's little things that you have to teach here. Do you want to make contact with F3? Do you want to keep his all of his motion going backwards so you have good sound structure? How aggressive do you want to be? If you don't have good skating defensemen, a lot of teams will push out with F3 and not pinch their D. In this case here, we push out, but we keep our momentum going back. And now we're reloading with F1 and F2. We're staying above this D. Obviously, this D is moved over here, is going to try and activate. So we're reloading, and then we're reloading through the middle here. But you can see now that F3, which was our high player in the 2-on-2 forecheck, is taken a lane. Our 2D have come back, and now we have really good structure, and we just sort this out. So we might have maybe failed on the 2-on-2 forecheck. They out-executed us, did a reverse, and came out. But in the end, we didn't lose anything because mathematically, as this crosses the red line, this is a 3-on-3 structure. So we feel that if we have a lead, or Larry, to your question, we have great team speed. Let's be patient. We don't have to create something on every forecheck. We're in a really sound defensive position coming back. And we've got our F1 and F2 reloaded into the middle of the ice and trying to stay above their D. Okay, to answer Larry's question, 1-2-2 versus 2-on-2, last portion of it for today's episode, which is number 8 here with the coachessite.com. We come in, we have good pressure on F1 and F2 again. They reverse again, similar to the last clip, but I'm going to show it in a different way as we go in the neutral zone. They pass back in the middle. Now F3 comes back and reloads in the middle versus taking the far lane. So in this case, now we have a triangle here in the middle. And last clip, F1 slid over here and took a lane. These are your choices, coaches. How do you want to handle once you've not had the ultimate success on your forecheck? How do you come back and play through the neutral zone? I personally believe, for me, is that this is a really safe, effective way to defending. You force everything through this triangle here in the middle. It forces all of the entries outside of the dots in the middle, and it forces them to enter down the wall like we have here. So we're really sound through the middle, and just that elevation of F1 or F3 coming back really makes the opponent not be able to penetrate the middle as easy. We're still reloading with F1 and F2 back through the middle, but you can see in this case here, the middle with the red is getting jammed up pretty well, and it's tough to make plays in the middle versus having 3 across. Now at this point, we make some decisions and we branch out from there. But that's also very effective, and for all you coaches to make decisions on, like Larry's trying to do I use a 1-2-2 or 2-on-2 versus the breakout scheme? So we've tried to cover that in today's episode, number 8 here with the coachessite.com. I want to thank Larry and all you coaches for your questions. This was the only one we could get through today because of the complexity. So we'll get to some other questions in episode number 9. But again, just a reminder for all you coaches, please submit your questions to Troy Ward Mailbag at thecoachessite.com each week, and we'll get our best ability to get these things up and answered. And we appreciate Larry's question today, and it was the only one we could handle in this episode, but we'll get to the other ones next week. So thanks so much, coaches. Be well and be safe.